That's how you do it. The SID has been in Rockshox's catalog since way back in 1998. Now that's probably long enough for most of us to forget that those 3 letters stand for Super Light Integrated Design. Today, Rockshox has released 2 all-new SID forks and a new SID shock that are more worthy of that name than ever before. I'm Mike Levy. I've spent the last month riding the new SID Ultimate and the new SID shock, and today we're going to talk all about it. The new SID is available in 2 different versions, a 32mm chassis that weighs 1,326 grams, making it the lightest thing out there, or this, the standard SID. It uses a 35mm chassis, all new fork crown, all new damper, all new air spring, just like the lighter SID. Get this, 1,537 grams. So if you're the type of rider who only wants 120mm, but you also don't shy away from the odd dumb line, jump, or drop that is probably too much for your trail bike, well then the new burlier SID might be more your speed than the lighter one. So you can get it in 2 different flavors. The SID Ultimate, that costs $899 American. It has the new damper, the new air spring, all the new jazz, or the new SID Select. That's a little bit heavier. It uses the old damper, but the new air spring and the new fork chassis as well, $699 bucks. Okay, so what's new? Everything. Let's start with the fork chassis. Those 35mm upper tubes, that's the same size that you're going to find in a Pike, a Lyric, and even a Boxer. It uses an aluminum crown. It's a very similar aluminum crown to the lighter weight SID SL. Obviously, it needs to be a bit bigger to fit those 35mm stanchion tubes. It's machined. It's very sharp looking. The new lowers as well, they have a wider stance than the 32mm fork. The whole idea here is more stiffness. Let's talk about their new Charger Race Day damper. This thing, the new damper, something like 98 grams lighter than the old damper, and just look at the size difference. Everything has been shrunk down, especially the bladder with less oil. The bladder can be much smaller. The damper body is way smaller. Even the seal head here is all milled out. The tiny lockout lever is all milled out. Even the wrench flats, they have a tiny groove machined all around them. There's also no rebound adjuster. The old fork had this big aluminum piece here. This one, hex key right up the bottom, but it comes out. And it's the same size hex key that you use to adjust the rear shock that we're going to talk about in a minute. So when you're done adjusting the rebound speed, you pull it out, you save, I don't know, 7 grams or something. There you go. Charger Race Day damper, you can get it with a lockout or without. 88 grams with the oil in it. Rockshox has lost weight by losing adjustments as well too. The old Charger damper had adjustable low speed compression. The new Charger damper, no such thing on here, it's long gone. You have your low speed rebound down at the bottom, and you have a lockout switch up at the top with the blow off. The new damper also has a lighter compression tune compared to the old damper. The idea there is to provide improved small bump compliance on forks that generally have to be run fairly stiff considering how little travel they have. Everything else is new, so why not tweak the debonair spring as well? Rockshox has moved the self-equalizing dimple on the stanchion tube lower down to help eliminate that little tiny bit of ghost travel at the top that some of their air sprung forks used to have. There's also a new SID rear shock to complete the package. And just like the fork, the idea here is the bare minimum and weight savings. The shock's body is extremely small. It doesn't have a rebound damper. Use that same hex key that's on your fork, and it gets the same lighter compression tune to help improve traction and small bump compliance. All right, so that's enough of the tech. Let's talk about how the stuff actually works. I've had the 120mm travel SID Ultimate and SIDLuxe shock on Mondraker's F Podium DC here in Squamish for the last month. Comparing a 120mm travel Fox 34 step cast that I spent a ton of time on to the new 120mm travel SID, it's apples to apples. So what are the results? Well, let's talk about damping first. On the 34, I was using their 3-position Fit 4 damper, and this is the new Charger Race Day damper. Now between the two, The race day damper, it definitely feels a little bit more forgiving. Okay, so let's talk about air springs, debonair in this fork here. I ended up at 82 PSI and 2 volume tokens in there. That's a little high for my weight. I'm about 155 pounds, but here in Squamish, it's fairly rough, fairly steep, so that helps keep me from smashing into the bottom too often. Between the two, the 34 and this, I mean, you can get both set up to your needs, and honestly, one isn't better than the other. All right, rigidity. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm not a huge guy, but I can definitely feel that this fork is a tiny bit stiffer than the 34, especially when it winds up in those corners where you come in at the bottom of steep roll downs, things like that. Okay, so who is this fork for? Now, I don't want to use that silly downcountry word, but that pretty much sums it up. It's for a rider that cares about weight, likes to be fit, but also likes to take a silly line, likes to go fast, and maybe likes to leave the ground every now and then. At the same time, you're gonna see this thing on cross-country race courses, and you're gonna see it leaving the ground. It's a pretty neat fork. All right, so there you have it. That's the new SID fork and the new SID shock. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Is this thing right up your alley or not so much?